The power of Stoic silence: let them doubt, let them wonder, let them regret. Silence tends to unsettle only those individuals who are uncomfortable confronting their own thoughts. Let me pose a question to you, friends. Have you ever observed that those who constantly talk or draw attention to themselves often say very little of real substance? Many times, people who make the most commotion are simply trying to avoid facing the quiet moments where they must meet themselves. Here's something important that they probably don't want you to realize: silence isn't a sign of weakness or surrender, it's actually a strategic tool, like a quiet form of resistance. When you stop constantly justifying your actions, when you cease reacting to every opinion thrown your way, and when you no longer hand over your energy to people who never truly valued you, that's the moment when a real transformation begins. Let others have their doubts, let them speculate, let them feel regret. None of those things are your responsibility anymore. If you've ever been ignored, left hanging on a read message, ghosted without an explanation, or felt abandoned as if your presence never mattered, then this message is especially meant for you. Because what we're about to explore will reshape the way you view yourself and influence how others perceive you as well. Before we dive deeper, I invite you to show your support by liking this video, subscribing to the channel, and turning on notifications. Get ready, because you're about to discover a version of yourself that stands strong, one who no longer flinches at rejection, chases after validation, or crumbles under pressure. Now, picture this: you're standing in the heart of a battlefield. The air is thick with dust, and the shouts of conflict are slowly fading away behind you. The chaos is in your past, and what lies ahead is the calm power of your own chosen silence. Instead of engaging in conflict, you stand there, composed, focused, and quiet. You're unarmed, yet your mere presence is powerful enough to make the ground tremble. That's the essence of Stoic silence. It's not about fleeing or hiding. It's about showing up so grounded and resolute that others are left wondering whether to feel fear, admiration, or regret. You see, people often expect you to crumble under pressure. That's the typical reaction: panic, plead, send one last message hoping for closure. But here's the thing: closure doesn't come from someone else's words. It comes from your own decision to move forward, with or without an apology. That's what they never anticipate. They thought silence would break you. They thought uncertainty would control you. But instead, it honed you. It stripped away the noise and made you formidable in ways they never imagined. Here's an interesting observation: when you stop reaching out, they start paying attention. When you stop showing up, people start to wonder what's going on. And when you stop explaining yourself, that's when they're forced to reflect on their own thoughts and feelings. Silence can be uncomfortable, and many people avoid it because they're afraid of what they might discover about themselves. But you faced your fears, and now you're unstoppable. The ancient Greek philosopher Epictetus once said, "We have 2 ears and 1 mouth so that we can listen twice as much as we speak." In today's world, everyone seems to be talking, but few are truly listening. You've learned the art of stillness, and you've come to realize that silence isn't the absence of communication, but rather the presence of self-respect. You're not ignoring others because you're broken or flawed, you're silent because you're focused on building yourself up. It's natural to feel like you need to defend yourself and share your side of the story, but sometimes it's better to let others believe what they want. While they're talking about you, you'll be working on personal growth and transformation. While they're guessing and speculating, you'll be achieving your goals and celebrating your successes. Silence isn't a sign of defeat or surrender, it's a powerful tool for self-improvement and empowerment. This is about your personal transformation. If you've reached your limit with feeling unheard, if you're exhausted by others twisting your words to fit their narrative, and if you're prepared to weaponize your quietness in a way that leaves people stunned, keep reading. What I'm about to share will show you how to reframe pain into purpose, uncertainty into understanding, and stillness into an invisible force that makes others question why they ever left. Drop a comment below right now. Your voice matters, even in silence. Oh, and don't forget to like this video, subscribe, and tap the bell icon so you never miss an update. Trust me, by the time we're done here, the you they once took for granted will become someone they can't even recognize. Let's dive in. First, let's talk about being underestimated. People assumed you'd never stop defending yourself. But here's the secret: silence isn't weakness, it's strategy. It means you've consciously reserved your energy for what truly matters. Did they anticipate this? Absolutely not. You, calm and unaffected, refusing to engage? That's the twist they never saw coming. They braced for drama, tears, or late night pleas, but you gave them nothing. And that's what unnerves them most. Why? Because manipulators thrive on emotional reactions. Silence strips away their control. Let me clarify, true silence isn't just avoiding words. It's about protecting your peace, prioritizing your growth, and redirecting your focus inward. Think of it like a chess move, quietly positioning yourself for victory while others scramble to guess your next step. For example, imagine a coworker constantly provoking you. Responding angrily gives them satisfaction, but staying silent? That leaves them unsettled, unsure of their influence over you. That's power, redefined. It's the quiet, unyielding decision to withhold from them the knowledge of your emotions, your thoughts, or even if you still care. Picture a wolf in the snow, injured and bleeding, but it doesn't whimper, doesn't howl. It retreats into the shadows, tends to its wounds in silence, and returns more powerful than before. That's where you are now. You didn't vanish because you were shattered. You chose silence because you're mending, because you're strategizing, because you're rising in a way that doesn't require an audience. And that's precisely what they didn't anticipate. They assumed you'd crumble without their attention. They believed that silence would be your undoing. But let me pose a question, my friends. Who truly broke whom? The one who remained composed or the one who had to make a spectacle to feel powerful? They might have left thinking they had the upper hand, but you've already reclaimed something far more precious than their presence, your inner peace. You've dispelled the myth that being loud equates to being strong. True strength lies in knowing when to hold your tongue. And now they're baffled. Why didn't you respond? Why didn't you pursue them? Why didn't you fight to prove them wrong? That silence, it's now resonating in their minds like an unanswerable question. Unanswered questions can be a heavy burden, especially when they leave us without closure. It's in these moments that doubt and regret can start to creep in. However, there's a common misconception that needs to be addressed. Many people believe that silence implies a lack of care or concern, but the truth is that it often means the opposite. It means you cared enough to recognize when something was no longer serving you and made the difficult decision to walk away. This isn't an easy thing to do, and it's natural to feel the urge to defend yourself, clear your name, or prove a point to those who may have wronged you. But it's essential to remember that people often don't appreciate the value of something until it's no longer available to them. Your silence can be a powerful tool in this regard, serving as a locked door that they never thought would close. Every attempt they make to reopen the door or elicit a reaction from you will be met with your absence, rather than your engagement. Another myth that needs to be debunked is the idea that remaining silent makes you appear weak. This couldn't be further from the truth. This is a tactic often used by emotionally unstable individuals to provoke a response and get a rise out of you. In reality, silence can be a sign of strength, an indication that you're not willing to engage in unnecessary drama or conflict. By choosing not to respond, you're taking away their power to manipulate or control you. So, the next time you're faced with a difficult situation and feel the urge to speak up, remember that your silence can be a powerful statement. It's a reminder that you deserve respect, and you won't engage in conversations that don't serve you. It's a sign of self-care, self-love, and a commitment to prioritizing your own emotional well-being. True strength doesn't require a show. The mightiest tree doesn't tremble in a storm, it flexes, digs its roots deeper, and endures silently. You're not dodging conflict, you're rising above it. You're not holding back words, you're limiting access. And that difference is where your power lies. Now, let's consider why silence feels so awkward. Why does holding your tongue feel more burdensome than speaking up? It's because society has led us to believe that silence equals passivity. But let me dispel that myth right here, right now. Silence is precision. Silence is strategy. Silence is controlling your story without feeling the need to announce it. The next time someone wonders what you're thinking, remind yourself that you're not there to satisfy their curiosity. You're there to safeguard your tranquility. And the moment you master this, they'll realize they've underestimated you completely. They misinterpreted your quietness as a sign of weakness, but they overlooked an important truth: storms often remain silent just before unleashing their full force. So, let them harbor doubts. Allow them to question your intentions. Let them wander through their thoughts, seeking answers that only your silence can provide. You are no longer the person who felt the need to explain every little thing. That earlier version of you craved understanding and validation. The person you are now walks away without uttering a word because you have a deep understanding of yourself. If you are prepared to stop reacting impulsively, if you are ready to cease explaining yourself to those who never warranted such explanations in the first place, then I encourage you to comment below right now. I find my strength in silence. Demonstrate this to them. Prove it to yourself. Show the world around you that your personal growth does not need to be loud or ostentatious to be transformative. And if this resonates with you on a profound level, please hit the like button, subscribe, and stay tuned. In the upcoming section, we will delve into the true reason why your silence unsettles them. The second point is curiosity. Silence can lead them to become fixated. A mind that lacks answers will inevitably construct its own prison of thoughts. Let me share something that many people are reluctant to acknowledge: what truly troubles someone is not necessarily what you have said. It's often the things we don't do that speak the loudest. It's not the unmailed letter or the deleted text message that leaves a lasting impression. Instead, it's the silence that follows, the absence of communication that sparks the imagination. And it's this imagination that can be far more punishing than the truth itself. When you suddenly stop engaging with someone, whether it's by not posting updates, not watching their stories, or not showing up in places they expect you to be, that's when the silence begins. This silence is like a locked box in the middle of a room, with everyone walking by and wondering what's inside. The longer the box remains sealed, the more curiosity grows, and the more people become obsessed with uncovering its secrets. In this scenario, you become the locked box, the question mark that no one expected, the quiet force that keeps them up at night. It's not that you're trying to be cruel or manipulative, it's simply that you've chosen to prioritize your own peace over their chaos. Let's face it, they probably thought you'd crack under the pressure, that you'd eventually give in and break the silence. But you didn't, and that's what's so powerful. Every day that you don't reach out, don't chase after them, or don't feel the need to explain yourself, their curiosity grows. At first, it's a subtle feeling, but over time, it can become overwhelming. By choosing to remain silent, you're taking back control of the situation and forcing them to confront their own thoughts and emotions. It's a powerful move, and on. It's easy to think he's just upset at first. But soon, that simple irritation turns into something deeper. Worry starts to creep in. Hold on, you think, why hasn't he reached out or explained himself? As time passes, that concern can spiral into something much more intense, almost like an obsession. Questions start swirling in your mind: is there someone else in his life now? Has he truly moved on and left me behind? This is the danger of underestimating someone who prefers to stay quiet. You see, it's the people who don't feel the need to say everything out loud that can become the most unsettling. It's not because they're trying to hide something, it's because their silence forces you to realize you might not have ever truly understood who they are. And here's where it gets really interesting: people who are unpredictable, especially men in this context, have a way of sticking in your memory. They leave an impression not because they're loud or flashy, but because their mystery makes them unforgettable. Let me share a little truth with you, friends. You don't need to drop mysterious hints on social media, show off how much better your life is now, or pretend you're completely unaffected by what's happened. True silence doesn't need a performance to make an impact. It's powerful all on its own. Unlike loud declarations or dramatic gestures, real silence is subtle. It sneaks up on you quietly, but its effect is profound, almost overwhelming. Think of it like a slow-moving fog. You don't notice it at first, but before you know it, it's everywhere, impossible to ignore. The individual who once left you in a state of uncertainty is now the one grappling with their own questions. They may act as if everything is perfectly fine, sharing cheerful selfies, going out more frequently, and appearing more boisterous than ever before. However, you and I both understand that this outward display is not true confidence, it is merely a facade. It is a cacophony attempting to fill the void left by your silence. People often share their lives online not to signify that they have moved on, but rather to seek validation, to be acknowledged, and to evoke feelings in others. In contrast, you made a different choice. You opted for invisibility, and that is what truly unsettled them. Why are they suddenly so concerned? Why do they now recognize your absence more acutely than they ever appreciated your presence? The answer lies in the fact that when someone is consistently around, they tend to blend into the background, becoming almost like ambient noise. Yet, when that person is no longer there, their absence becomes the most prominent sound in the room. You have transformed into an echo within their thoughts, and now, every space they enter feels a bit too silent. Let's dispel another common misconception, the idea that being out of sight means being out of mind. This is not the case when your energy once illuminated the environment. Your presence was a source of tranquility amidst their turmoil. Not when your affection came without any strings attached. No, my friend. When you choose to leave with grace, you don't simply vanish, you linger in their thoughts. I understand that this can be quite challenging. You might feel the urge to check in, to see if they are missing you. But listen closely. Don't sacrifice your allure for a fleeting moment of their attention. You have invested too much effort into maintaining your composure to jeopardize it for a lackluster direct message. The silence you have embraced is not a form of punishment, rather, it is a commitment to yourself that you will not revert to justifying your value to someone who never warranted such an explanation in the first place. So, allow them to ponder. Let them scroll through your social media and find nothing new. Let them visit your profile and see no updates. Allow them to sit with the void you have created. Because each day that passes without a word from you serves as a reminder that you have finally discovered something more powerful than pleading, your tranquility. If you are tired of always being the one to initiate contact, and if you are prepared to turn your silence into a strategy rather than a vulnerability, then feel free to comment below right now. Encourage curiosity with your approach, I don't pursue. Demonstrate to them, to yourself, and to the world that your silence is not merely an absence, but a powerful statement. And remember to show your support by liking this video, subscribing, and enabling notifications. In the upcoming segment, we'll delve into the consequences when the absence becomes tangible and the balance of power starts to shift. Stay tuned. Now, let's discuss the third point, the power shift. When the other party experiences your absence, nothing is more impactful than realizing that the person they took for granted is no longer waiting. It's intriguing how those who believe you'll never leave are often the most surprised when you do. Initially, they may feel invincible, assuming they have you under their control, believing that no matter how distant they become, you'll always be there. However, an unexpected turn of events occurs. You don't pursue, you don't message, you don't chase. And that's when the shift begins, not in you, as you've already made your choice, but in them. Picture this, a flame that has always been burning for them suddenly extinguishes. It was always cozy, always there, ready for you. But one day, when they come back, it's no longer warm. No sign of warmth, no flicker of life. That's how their absence feels now. At first, they don't realize it, but soon the quiet around them grows louder. The space you once filled begins to feel empty, echoing with memories. Now they feel it, not just your absence, but the deep sense of loss they carry. This is the turning point where everything changes. You're no longer the one hurting. You're not questioning their actions, their company, or whether they miss you, your focus is on your own growth. Suddenly, the silence they once thought would hurt you now weighs heavily on them. This is the shift in power. Let's be honest, reaching this point isn't easy. It requires strength and self-control. It means staying strong through nights when you long to reach out but hold back. It involves days when your feelings scream for attention, but you remain composed. This is where the real change occurs. You stop responding to their silence and stop seeking those who only valued you after you stopped offering your time and energy. In that moment of tranquility, you begin to rise, not to showcase your strength or to impress anyone, but because you have come to understand that your energy is something that needs safeguarding. People start to sense this shift when your name is mentioned, and you are no longer entangled in any drama. When mutual acquaintances bring you up, they notice that there is no sorrow in your gaze, no resentment in your tone. Instead, there is a sense of purpose, clarity, and a healthy distance. That's the moment it dawns on them: you haven't merely moved on, you have ascended. You haven't just gotten over it, you have transcended it. This is where we confront another misconception. They will not feel regret, right? Wrong. They may not openly acknowledge it, but regret can manifest in various ways. It might appear as lingering glances at your social media profiles, or inquiries to your friends about how you are doing. Sometimes, it takes the form of silence as they come to the realization that they have lost someone who would have fought fiercely for them, all while they were preoccupied with trivial matters. And here's the important part: you are not being unkind or seeking revenge. You are simply emotionally, mentally, and spiritually unavailable, out of reach. When someone chooses to sever the connection, they forfeit the right to complain about the resulting distance. You are not enacting punishment, you are simply prioritizing your own well-being. You're no longer bearing their burdens. That's true strength. It's a quiet, humble strength that doesn't seek validation, doesn't over-explain, and doesn't demand attention. It simply exists. They'll sense it when you stop glancing over your shoulder, when you no longer react to past memories. They'll come to understand that their presence wasn't the source of your calm, it was a distraction. Now that clarity has returned, you stand taller, speak with more depth, and act with greater wisdom. They're no longer part of your narrative. It's ironic how they once saw you as overly emotional, too passionate, too involved. Now, your calmness unnerves them more than your previous love ever could. Because you've become the person they never thought you'd evolve into. That version of you doesn't hesitate, doesn't long for what's gone, and doesn't question. So, if you're tired of giving your energy away freely, if you're ready to stop diminishing yourself for those who never valued you, then leave a comment below right now. They've lost their place in your life, and I found my peace. Demonstrate to them. Demonstrate to yourself. Demonstrate to the world that your presence was a privilege, not a given. And now that it's gone, so is their control. Click that like button, subscribe, enable notifications, and stay with me because in the next section, we're going to discuss what happens when they start to crumble, and you're no longer there to pick up the pieces. Number 4, the ego collapse. Doubt begins to seep in. They don't immediately regret losing you. First, they doubt, then they remember, then they break. Have you ever witnessed someone who was so self-assured start to question everything? That's what occurs when your silence extends for too long. Initially, they are confident, even arrogant. They believed that walking away wouldn't cost them anything. They thought you would pursue them as always. They thought you would give in, fall apart, send that message, ask for closure. But now it's quiet. Days pass, then weeks, and you are nowhere to be found. That's when the cracks begin to form. That's when the ego starts to tremble. Imagine this, my friends. Silence is like a mirror that they never wanted to gaze into, and now they find themselves trapped in its reflection. There's no noise to divert their attention, no drama to conceal behind, just their own thoughts staring back at them. And that's where uncertainty begins to creep in. Initially, it's just a soft whisper. Did I make the wrong choice? Then it grows louder. Was he truly the one who had my back? Then, suddenly, it hits like a thunderclap in a quiet room. What if he's really moved on from me? Let me set the scene for you. Picture them standing at the edge of a cliff, peering down into the abyss of what they once had. They're searching for a bridge back, but there's none to be found. Just an empty space, just silence, and you, miles away, not looking back. That's when the memories start to surface. Not the fantasies, not the excuses they told themselves, but the genuine moments. The way you were there when they needed strength, the way you protected them even when you were hurting. The way you listened when everyone else was just waiting for their turn to speak. They start to compare. And let me tell you, those new people in their life, they might be exciting, but they're not reliable, not steadfast. Let's be honest here. The reality is that they often fail to recognize your true worth. It doesn't become apparent to them until your energy has faded, your soothing voice is no longer there to calm their chaos, and your presence is absent, no longer providing the stability they relied on. By that time, however, it's too late for them to realize the change that has occurred within you. You have transformed, you are no longer the same person they once knew. You've become sharper, more substantial, wiser, and perhaps a bit quieter. That newfound silence of yours speaks volumes, revealing every truth they chose to overlook. But let's not kid ourselves into thinking this is solely about them. This moment also marks a significant turning point for you. It's the realization that you never had to validate your own worth. The issue was never that you were too much for them, rather, it was that you offered too much to someone who wasn't prepared to accept it. That's not your fault, it's theirs. Now, they must grapple with that reality while you continue to grow and evolve. You see, the disintegration of their ego doesn't occur overnight. It gradually crumbles each time they come across your name and realize you're no longer reaching out to them. Whenever someone mentions your name and they respond with, "He's doing really well," it carries a certain weight. Each time they scroll through their feed and notice your absence, no likes, no comments, no gaming interactions, this void starts to feel heavy. They begin to grapple with a sense of loss that they initially thought would be insignificant. In these moments, they might find themselves questioning, was I too distant? Did I let go of something genuine in pursuit of something simpler? Although they may not vocalize these thoughts, the feelings are palpable. Each time they encounter a version of you that seems unreachable, they sense the change when you don't respond with warmth but rather with a quiet distance. They come to realize that you have become the one who slipped away, and not because you vanished, but because you have outgrown the connection they once had with you. It's crucial to understand that this situation is not about seeking revenge. Your goal isn't to make them feel regretful. Instead, your focus should be on maintaining your alignment, staying centered, and embracing a sense of calm. Healing doesn't come from trying to prove your value to someone who failed to recognize it. True healing occurs when you live your life in a way that doesn't require validation from others. So, if you've reached a point where you're ready to stop reliving the past, and you're prepared to let their ego crumble under the realization of what they've lost, then feel free to express that below. Let them question themselves. You've evolved, and your approach has changed. Allow them to wrestle with the silence they've created. Let your tranquility serve as a reflection they choose to avoid. If this resonates with you on a deeper level, please hit the like button, subscribe, and turn on notifications. In the next segment, we will explore the idea that silence is not merely a temporary state. This becomes your discipline, your advantage, and your most potent tool. Let me explain. Number 5, the power of discipline. When you remain silent yet convey volumes. A person who masters their quietude transforms into an unpredictable force that the world can't anticipate. Here's a truth that will resonate with you forever: most people speak out of fear of being overlooked. However, the truly powerful choose silence not out of fear, but because they've seized control. My friends, silence isn't emptiness, it's the strength to hold back your emotions. It's the choice not to let others glimpse your inner thoughts. This restraint carries more weight than any argument, insult, or response could ever achieve. They expected you to react, long messages, voice notes, perhaps even a meltdown. But you gave them nothing. And that silence speaks louder than any scream they've ever heard, because your silence wasn't to grab their attention. You chose it because you understood they never had the right to see inside you. This isn't petty, it's a sign of growth. Imagine a volcano. Beneath its calm surface, immense power simmers, waiting for the right moment to unleash its force. Similarly, silence can be a strategic, calculated strength, a reminder that sometimes, the most impactful statements are the ones never spoken. You've cultivated a serene exterior, but beneath lies a quiet strength, a controlled intensity ready to ignite only when warranted, not triggered by fleeting emotions. This is your new elevation, a place beyond knee-jerk reactions. You've outgrown the need to react to hostility, disengage with those who thrive on discord, and stopped over-explaining yourself to people bent on misunderstanding. Why? Because you've realized the value of your mental resources. They're non-negotiable. Your silence isn't hollow, it's intentional and potent. Here's why that unnerves others: they can't handle the quiet because it forces them to confront their own reflections with no external validation to distract them. Imagine their reality, stranded in a void of their own choices, while you're methodically building self-control. Watch them twist. They'll wonder why you're no longer predictable, why you refuse to feed their need for drama, why your actions have become unreadable. Because you've become the person they never thought possible, a calm leader who doesn't blink under pressure, doesn't chase validation through chaos, and chooses purposeful responses over empty reactions. This new version of you unsettles those who once saw your compassion as weakness. It terrifies those who assumed they could push your buttons endlessly, never realizing you'd one day remove the control panel entirely. Let's dismantle a dangerous misconception: staying silent means others will rewrite your story. But here's the truth: by actively choosing when and how to engage, you take charge of your narrative. They'll speculate, they'll project, but you're no longer a participant in their delusions. You're now the architect of your boundaries, leaving those used to manipulating you stranded in their own confusion. Precious mental and emotional resources should never be squandered on unproductive battles. Your energy is a currency, spend it strategically, and watch how those who once relied on your reactions scramble to fill the emptiness their own actions created. Silence isn't weakness, it's the sound of someone who's mastered their power. It's great. Allow them to craft their own stories, because the truth is something they're living, not telling. You're no longer here to persuade others. That was the old you, the one who felt the need to explain, defend, and apologize for your authenticity. This new chapter of you has found a peace that doesn't require understanding from others. And yes, it can be tempting. You'll feel the urge to reach out, to deliver one final message, to remind them of who you truly are. But resist this temptation, because the moment you respond from a place of hurt, you revert to the person they believed you still were. You've made too much progress to take a step back. Your silence isn't due to a lack of things to say, rather, it's a powerful statement of your growth and healing. They'll sense this in every unanswered message, in each passing day without a call, and in every moment they realize your energy is no longer directed towards them. When they eventually reach out, and they will, it won't be to regain your attention. Instead, they'll be seeking to reclaim the control, the calm, and the clarity that you now possess. These qualities, which they once dismissed, are now what they desire most. But here's the reality: they won't get that evolved version of you anymore. The concept of silence is often misunderstood. It's not about being quiet to punish or react to a situation, but rather to protect and focus. When you've turned pain into patience, emotion into execution, and reaction into restraint, you've developed a rare and powerful trait. This Stoic approach to life allows you to move with purpose, saying nothing but meaning everything. In a world that's often loud, messy, and reactive, your silence is a powerful statement. If you've reached a point where you're done explaining your silence and are ready to let your discipline speak volumes without raising your voice, then it's time to take control. Don't feel the need to justify your silence to others. Instead, let them wonder and speculate. Let them wish they had access to the person you've become. If this message resonates with you, hit the like button, subscribe, and turn on notifications to stay updated. In our next installment, we'll explore what happens when others try to re-enter your life, only to find the door locked forever. This pattern is all too common: you pull away, go quiet, focus, and just when your silence becomes a lifestyle, they come knocking, expecting things to go back to the way they were. But you've changed, and it's time to recognize that. Perhaps it starts with a simple, "Hey, I was just thinking about you." It could be a random meme that reminds them of you, a song that brings back memories, or even a nostalgic photo from days gone by. Or, in a more unsettling scenario, it might be a late-night text that says, "I hope you're doing okay." However, let's not misinterpret these gestures. This isn't love reaching out, it's more about curiosity, a sense of ego, and the anxiety of potentially losing the connection they believed would always be there. They never anticipated that you would heal in the way you have. Not like this, not quietly, and certainly not in your own company. They assumed your silence was just a phase, that eventually, you would break that silence as you had done in the past. Instead, you took the time to rebuild yourself away from the spotlight. While they were out socializing, showing off, and moving on with their lives, you were diligently working behind the scenes, reinventing yourself, evolving into someone who not only avoids drama but rises above it. Now, your silence carries a weight that is both intriguing and formidable. It is no longer a silence born from suffering, it is a silence that emanates from a place of inner peace. You find that you no longer crave revenge or seek closure. You have moved beyond that. You don't even need to provide solutions or explanations anymore. You've arrived at that extraordinary stage where you're beyond their reach, untouchable in the best possible way. And oddly enough, that's exactly what draws them back into your orbit. But let's be clear, it's not always because they genuinely care for you or want to rebuild a loving connection, is it? More often, it's because they're lost without the version of you that once made them feel like they mattered, like they were the center of your universe. Allow me to explain this in a way that's easy to grasp, especially if you're new to understanding these dynamics. When people from your past reappear, their intentions aren't always about you as a person. Sometimes, they are simply testing the waters, checking to see if you're still in the same place emotionally, still circling around them, still ready to jump at their beck and call, just like you might have done before. But here's the beautiful difference now: you've changed. You've constructed boundaries, not to block out love or connection, but to prevent the chaos and drama from slipping back into your life, disguised as something familiar or comforting. Imagine it like this: it's as if someone walks up to a house they used to call home. The street looks the same, the front door is unchanged, but their old key no longer fits the lock. And even if they manage to peek inside, they'd be confused because the interior is completely transformed. You've redecorated your mind, rearranged your priorities, and created a space of calm and peace. They no longer fit in this new version of your life. This isn't about being harsh or unkind, it's about seeing things clearly and protecting what you've built. To help illustrate this further, let's use an analogy. Picture yourself as a castle, standing tall and secure. Your walls are strong, your gates are guarded, but not because you dislike others or want to shut everyone out. Instead, it's because you've finally recognized your own worth. You understand that not everyone deserves access to your time, energy, or heart. Think of a real-life example. Imagine you've spent years fixing up an old, run-down house. You've painted the walls, replaced the broken windows, and turned it into a warm, inviting home. Now, if someone who once trashed that house shows up, expecting to walk right in and make themselves at home, you wouldn't let them, right? Of course not. You'd protect your space because you value the effort you've put into making it yours. That's exactly what you're doing with your emotional and mental well-being now. It's not about being cold, it's about being wise and intentional. You shouldn't just open your doors to anyone who arrives with a friendly smile. It's important to remember that smiles can be deceiving, and words can be used to manipulate. True change is demonstrated through actions, the passage of time, and consistent behavior. This is the genuine language of someone who has truly transformed. Unfortunately, many people are not fluent in this language. They often desire the same old privileges without taking on any responsibility. You might hear them say things like, "I've been reflecting on our past. I miss the way things were between us. I just needed some time apart." But what does this really mean? It's not a test of their character, it's a test of your resolve. They want to see if the new you can still be swayed by old feelings. This is where many individuals falter. They break their silence out of nostalgia, out of a sense of weakness, mistakenly believing that returning to the past equates to finding redemption. However, let me share a difficult truth with you: if someone only recognizes your worth after losing you, they were never truly deserving of you in the first place. Love that only acknowledges your value when you are absent is not genuine love, it is more akin to possession. You are not an object to be owned or a mere placeholder in someone else's life. You are not just a backup plan or a consolation prize, and you certainly aren't the person clinging to scraps while longing for genuine peace. So, when those people return, and they inevitably will, don't be in a hurry to respond. Avoid falling into the trap of those frequent check-ins or answering your door merely because someone suddenly remembered you exist. Think of yourself not as a hotel or a temporary resting point, but as a destination that requires sincere effort to reach. If someone isn't willing to overcome real obstacles, to walk through fire with you the proper way, then they can simply keep moving on. If you are ready to stop reopening doors that only lead to disappointment and are determined to safeguard the hard-earned peace you've built, then share your decision now. I choose not to reply to what I have outgrown. Instead, let those around you and everyone else observe that your silence wasn't just a fleeting phase, it was a deliberate filter. Only what is meant to stay in your life will make it through. Show your strength and commitment by interacting with this message, hit the like button, subscribe, and turn on notifications. Stay tuned because in the next segment, we'll explore what happens when you have evolved so significantly that those around you no longer recognize who you truly are. In this transformation, you have grown beyond their reach. Remember, you didn't change merely to impress them, you evolved in such a way that they can no longer connect with the person you have become. Here's where things really change, my friends. It's not just about your thoughts or daily routines, it's about who you truly are. There comes a pivotal moment in every person's journey where the goal shifts from trying to move on from the past to rediscovering who you are. But this isn't about reverting to the old you, it's about becoming someone new. Imagine a person who no longer needs to prove their worth, who doesn't chase after old wounds, and who doesn't cling to unresolved feelings. When you look in the mirror, you don't see someone struggling to heal, you see a new version of yourself, fully awakened. See, others thought you'd remain trapped in the past. They believed your silence was just a temporary phase, that eventually you'd break the stillness and return with some emotional apology or a late-night text filled with nostalgia. But they didn't expect you to grow beyond them. That's the twist. They left thinking you'd be waiting for them, but now you're not even in the same space anymore. Not even on the same wavelength. Not even in the same life. Let me explain this simply. Evolution doesn't send out invitations. It doesn't wait for others to catch up. When you truly start to rise mentally, emotionally, and spiritually, you're no longer bound by the expectations of the past. You're free to become whoever you're meant to be. Imagine relocating to a new place and not leaving any contact information behind. No matter how often they knock on the door, the person they are searching for has moved on. It's akin to a butterfly attempting to return to its cocoon to explain its transformation. It seems futile, doesn't it? This is your current situation. You are under no obligation to justify your personal growth to someone who only knew the earlier version of yourself, the one still figuring out how to embrace self-love. There's no need to persuade anyone of your changes, your actions and achievements convey your evolution far more effectively than words ever could. You have naturally outgrown the need for their presence in your life, not out of resentment, but out of a necessity for your own well-being. It's not just that you have become stronger, you have also found a sense of calm. Your thoughts are more deliberate and your words are more measured. You navigate life with purpose, safeguarding your energy as if it were a precious resource, because you now recognize its true value. You no longer give excessively of yourself, nor do you feel the need to explain your choices to those who were never truly attentive in the first place. You have grasped a vital truth: maintaining your peace is far more valuable than seeking validation or understanding from others. Here's the moment they realize the depth of the change. When they attempt to reconnect, they're met with an unfamiliarity that takes them by surprise. The old jokes fall flat, the familiar patterns no longer apply. There's a noticeable shift in the way you communicate, in your tone, your timing, your emotional distance. You're not being cold or rude, you're simply being authentic. This authenticity can be intimidating to those who were accustomed to a version of you that was still seeking validation. They no longer have access to the version of you who wakes up early, hits the gym with a clear purpose, reads books, makes plans, and builds a life. They no longer have access to the new you who is busy creating a life that doesn't revolve around their approval. They can scroll through your updates, wonder about your current state, and miss you as much as they want, but they can't reach you. Why? Because what they had wasn't just a relationship with a man, it was a fleeting moment in time. And that moment has passed. Let's address the biggest misconception of all: people don't change, they evolve. And sometimes, this evolution means moving on to a new chapter of life, leaving behind the old ways and the people who can't keep up. It's a misconception to think that pain, silence, rejection, betrayal, and disrespect do not have a profound impact on individuals. These experiences can either shatter a person or serve as a catalyst for growth. Choosing to allow these challenges to foster your development is a remarkable and rare decision. It is genuine and leaves a lasting impression. People often say that time has the power to heal all wounds, yet they seldom discuss the transformations that occur in others while you are on your journey to recovery. Time does not merely lead them to miss your presence, it also unveils the realization that they never fully appreciated your true potential. They were enamored with the person who was striving to improve, but now they find themselves haunted by the individual you have evolved into. The distance between who you were and who you have become is now too vast for them to bridge. Therefore, if you have reached a point where you no longer feel the need to justify your personal growth, and you are prepared to continue ascending quietly while they linger in the shadows of your past self, I encourage you to express that below. I have surpassed their ability to access my life. Demonstrate to them, to yourself, and to the world around you that your journey of growth is not merely a promotional effort, it is a fundamental aspect of your lifestyle. For those who are unable to resonate with your energy, they will also struggle to appreciate your presence. So, go ahead and hit that like button, subscribe, and activate notifications to stay connected with me, because we are about to conclude this chapter once and for all. And we will do so with a sense of peace rather than seeking permission. Now, let's talk about the legacy you will leave behind. Allow them to feel their regrets in peace, there is no need for revenge. What you truly need is to evolve into the person they will never have the chance to access again. This is the moment, my friends. We are at the final transition, the last turn of the key. You have put in the effort, you have embraced silence, turned inward, and faced challenges that have refined you rather than broken you. You have emerged not bitter, but transformed. Now, you find yourself at the threshold of your next chapter, not waiting for her return, not longing for an apology, and certainly not requiring closure. Instead, you hold peace in your hands like a trophy that you have earned through your quiet perseverance. Let's be honest, regret has a way of surfacing eventually. It may not always come with tears or desperate pleas for reconciliation. Sometimes, it arrives subtly, manifesting in habits of scrolling through social media or in those awkward encounters. It can appear as them checking your profile multiple times in a single day or mentioning your name in conversations they promised they would avoid. It often strikes when they are lying next to someone else, yet reminiscing about the comfort you provided in your silence. But the important thing is, you will not be there to witness it because you have moved on. And this movement is not just about leaving them behind, it signifies your liberation from the need for their acknowledgement. That, my friends, is what true power looks like. It's not about showcasing that you are superior to others or displaying your transformation for all to see. Instead, it's about immersing yourself so deeply in your purpose that the opinions of others no longer register on your radar. Picture this, you stroll past the remnants of a place that once felt like home. The windows are broken, the doors are damaged, and the very foundation seems to be crumbling. This imagery captures the essence of what it would feel like to return to that past. Yet, you choose not to go back. It's not that you lack feelings for what was, rather, you have come to a profound realization that your worth was never something that needed justification. It was always meant to be experienced on a deeper level. And now, in your absence, others are beginning to sense that worth. They notice it when your name is mentioned, and instead of bitterness, they encounter a sense of growth. They perceive it when your silence transforms from something sharp and cutting into something solid and resolute. They come to understand that your distance is not born from animosity, but rather from your own evolution. Here's a truth that may be difficult to accept, yet ultimately liberating: not everyone who loses you will come to recognize what they have lost in time to take any action. And that's perfectly fine. It's not a weight you need to bear, it's a lesson they must learn to live with. Instead of resorting to drastic actions like slamming the door or burning bridges, sometimes the best approach is simply to step away. Let others engage with your past self, offer apologies to echoes, and reminisce about a version of you that no longer exists. By choosing to move on, you transform into a memory for them, not a current connection. This act of graceful detachment becomes your legacy. While some may mistake your silence for surrender, in reality, it is a powerful statement of presence and care. It signifies that you have given your all and now choose to depart not out of spite, but to safeguard yourself. This quiet departure is a profound gesture, leaving a lasting impact without the need for confrontation. It is a clean break, a sharp cut that fades away with dignity. Despite what others may believe, they will eventually feel the weight of your absence. Regret may not be immediate or loud, it can manifest subtly, haunting them in quiet moments or unexpected memories. When that regret surfaces, let it be. When you're ready to move on from someone who never truly appreciated you, it's essential to prioritize your own growth and well-being. Don't waste your time and energy on people who don't know how to value you. Instead, focus on becoming the best version of yourself. Cultivate your passions, develop your skills, and surround yourself with people who uplift and support you. Remember, you don't need anyone's permission or applause to close a chapter in your life. You don't need to justify your decisions or seek validation from others. Your silence can be a powerful statement, a testament to your strength and resilience. By choosing to prioritize yourself, you're not being selfish, you're being wise. You're recognizing that your time and energy are precious, and you're choosing to invest them in yourself and your own happiness. So, if you're done keeping space open for someone who never knew how to fill it, if you're ready to close the chapter without needing anyone's approval, then take a moment to acknowledge your own strength and resilience. Celebrate your growth and progress, and know that you're worthy of love, respect, and happiness, regardless of what others may think or say.